Alright guys, so we're going to be talking about in this little short video how to write an equation in standard form, which is a common topic in 8th grade math and Algebra 1 and many algebra courses. So first of all, starting with what standard form says. Standard form says ax plus by equals c. Now a, b, and c are all numbers, so it's not near as complicated as it seems to be. Mainly, what I tell my students is that if it's in standard form, x and y are on the same side, okay? So, that's your goal. If you want to write an equation in standard form, then our goal is to get x and y on the same side. Now, once you do that, there's a few things you need to look at as far as their coefficients. So, we need to make sure that a, which is the coefficient of x, is not negative. If so, you just divide each term out by that -1 to get rid of it. Make sure a, b, and c are not fractions. If so, divide each term by whatever fraction it is. Number 4, make sure a, b, and c do not have any common factors other than 1. So make sure that if there's any number that fits into a, b, and c, that you divide out and simplify that. So looking at number 1, doing my steps, I want to get x and y on the same side, preferably on the left. So I'm going to move that -2x to the right side, and the way that I do that is by adding the 2x. I can't combine these, okay, because they're not like terms. In my standard form, the x term comes first, so I'm going to have the x term come first. So 2x plus 1/3 y equals 3. Okay, these are gone. Now, I have the x and y on the same side, so I start checking. If I go back up here to my checklist, make sure a is not negative. It's not. Make sure there aren't any fractions. Well, we do have fractions, so I need to get rid of this fraction by dividing out by 1/3. Dividing each term out by that 1/3. Dividing by 1/3 is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, which is just the flip of the fraction. So the flip of 1/3 is 3/1, or just 3. So this is the same thing as 2 times 3, giving me 6x. These cancel to give you a 1y. And then 3 times 3 is 9. So that's my final form here. Okay, looking at number 2. I need to get x and y on the same side. Now, I said preferably we like it to be on the left, but the easier step here is definitely going to be just to go ahead and move this y over instead of having to do 2 steps. So we'll be left with, that's a positive y. So we give a negative y to each side. So we have 8 equals -y plus 4x. Okay. All right. Now, we don't like that negative. We can't, y, the coefficient, wait a minute. I said that wrong. It's totally good if this one is negative. We just have to make sure that the coefficient of x is not negative. Let's rewrite a couple things though, because we do like our x term to come first. So if we want our x term to come first, then we just have our positive 4x and our minus y. And there we go. Nothing is in fractions. The coefficient of x is not negative, and this coefficient is 1, 4, and 8, and their GCF is 1. Looking at number 3. Okay, so basically, well, I think the process for number 3 would be the same as number 2. Just go ahead and move that 4y term. If it's a -4y, then we add 4y. So we're left with 6 is equal to, and let's go ahead and make sure, I didn't do it in number 2, but make sure your x term is going to come first, and then your y term. Now your x term is not negative, and we don't have any fractions, but we do have a GCF other than 1. 2 can go into 2, 4, and 6. So we're going to divide everything out by that GCF of 2. And get 3 is equal to 1x, or just x, plus 2y. And when you're done. Alright, sorry you couldn't see that. And our very last one. Okay, we don't have an x term. Okay, so there's not one present. That just means that we just need to have our y term, solve for our y term. So we do that by taking our 6 away from each side since it's positive. So we have a -2y is equal to a -2. Okay, now we have a y on this one side and the -2 on the right. We do have a GCF of this -2, so we can go ahead and divide out by that and get y is equal to +1. So if you don't have an x term, just go ahead and solve for y. That would be your process if there's no x term. So repeating again, goal 1, get x and y on the same side. Once you've done that, make sure a, the coefficient of x is not negative. If so, divide out by -1. Make sure there's no fractions. If there are, divide out by the fraction. Make sure there's not a GCF other than 1. If there is, make sure you divide out by it. And that's getting things in standard form. All right, have a great afternoon.